Hi there, this is Renee from Tradition School of Herbal Studies, and I'm going to do a few short minutes on smudging and what smudging is and why we really need to know about our bioregional plants and the plants that are from the people that we come from. And so let's talk real quick about smudging and why we smudge. So right now you're seeing the smoke go across and you're seeing all the different things here that I'll show you guys a little bit later. But the reasons historically that we would have smudging are very, very diverse. And one of the things that, and Bob's walking up with some good stuff, some bioregional stuff that's here for us, and we'll talk about it. I'm very thankful for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. One of the things I like to do when we teach classes about this, and this is a class that everybody asks for, is to speak on the cultural diversity of all of it so that we don't feel like we have to know the sound of someone else's drum without knowing the sound of ours first. And so if you think about it with smudging, that all cultures do it for all different reasons. And so one of the things that I like to hearken it back to is everybody's used to seeing the priest walk down the aisle with the frankincense and myrrh burning in the incense to shift what's going on inside of that church. So that's how entrenched into our culture it is. The second thing I like to go back to is the scientific side of what I do, is if you were a Viking in the longhouse and you were stuck there for the winter, sometimes 8 weeks at a time, as the snow fell and covered the entirety of your family and your clan and your animals inside of one building, all the way up to the roof, they would be burning things for the medicinal properties. They would be burning them for the antimicrobial properties. They would be burning them for dismissing any kind of disease or ill will. So antimicrobial, antibiotic, antiviral. So things like the pine would be very important to them because the evergreens would be the only thing that was left standing that was fresh during those dark winters. So it was very important from the standpoint of actual physical protection, not anything that's woo-woo and spiritual. But from the spiritual side, we use plants, or the plants gift us the alteration of what's happening at the time. So if you had somebody who was in severe trauma, was in sadness and fright, in pain, shifting that energy immediately so that you were not stuck in that pain is something that would be very, very important. And plants are just such a huge ally for working in community with us that they positively want to lend all of their help to us in any way, shape, or form. We have some friends that are Druid practitioners and herbalists that are over in Ireland and Scotland and in the Isles there, and they would talk about how intense it is to light fire to something. Like if we caught on fire, what that shift would be, what we would look like going from a human being to ash. Or if you think about the term of rising from the ash as a phoenix as something else, the conversion, the alchemy of fire, is a very intense action. So if we get to a point where we're burning a plant, it's to make an intense shift one way or the other. So using a plant for spiritual shifts, using it for a physical shift, like you are sick, like in a sick house, using it for an emotional shift, like you have a fright that's stuck, not a scared feeling, but a fright, completely different things, a susto. These are all reasons why we would use the term smudge and burn a plant. So in our next set, I'm going to blow this a little bit because I feel like it's appropriate. In our next set of recordings, we're going to talk about the different reasons for using different plants for smudge. So for now, what I really want you guys to have in your head is the idea of why. That we are going to use a smudging technique to create a well home where there's a sick home, to shift an emotional stuckness, to literally have something move and change like a bruise or a stuck spasming muscle, and I'll get into that on our next video, and to create a sense of community and wellness as a group as a whole. And so in all aspects, it's just a yes. Every culture does it. Every continent where a human being was, they used fire and a certain plant to shift and protect both physically and emotionally. And it's something that is in all of our history as a human race, that the plants work in community in all ways. And so it's something to get to know, and to get to know your plants in your area, so that you have a very strong family base in your community, including the plants and the rocks and the elements.